So I'll just give you one example from Bhartrihari and then go to some of the very prominent examples from Kalidas. So we had shared two examples before from Bhartrihari. One is the beginning verse in the Niti Shatakam, Dik Kaladhyanavacchannananta Chanamatra Murtaye, and then the Sahitya Sangita Kala Vihina. The next example from Bhartrihari, where he divides all the human beings into three categories. So he says there are people, so the entire humanity, looking at their temperament and their way of working, so they are divided into three categories. He says there are people who never take interest in doing anything. They don't feel inspired. They don't want to take any risk in life. They don't want to initiate. So those people, according to Bhartrihari, are adhama, of the low category. Adhama or nicha or adhama. They are the highly low-spirited people. They don't feel like doing anything in life. They don't want to take any challenge, any responsibility, any initiative. So they are adhama. Then it says there are people who are mediocre people, madhyama. They do feel like taking up responsibilities, challenges, initiatives. But the problem with these people is that the moment there is any obstacle, any seriousness with the initiative, so they withdraw. They don't proceed further. So they keep taking many things, many responsibilities, but any problem comes, they don't want to face problems in any work. So the problem comes, they don't have the capacity to tackle it. So they give it up. Then it speaks about the excellent people, madhyama. Then the third, the highest category of people, so they are uttama, the most excellent. These are the high-spirited people. These are high-spirited people, means they every time they want to take up as many responsibilities as they can. And when there are many challenges, any obstacle, anything, so they fight against it. But they never give up until they reach the goal. These are the uttama people. One can match, the gunas are there in everyone. All the three gunas exist. The low-spirited people live in utter tamas. Yes. The high-spirited people, they have sattva and rajas, both combination. The mediocre ones are tamas and rajas combination. Though rajas is there, but tamas can overpower their rajas. Good addition. Thank you. Now, as per Bhartrihari, he divides this, he brings this insight. He's the poet. Bhartrihari. Bhartrihari. Krishna ka Bhartrihari. So now the verse here in Niti Shatakam, so it says, Prarabhyate na khalu vighna bhayena nichai. The nicha, prarabhyate na. He doesn't begin anything. Why? Out of fear, out of insecurity. So he doesn't feel inspired, he doesn't feel secure, confident about taking up any responsibility. Prarabhyate na khalu vighna bhayena nichai. Prarabhya vighna vihata viramanti madhyaha. Prarabhya, madhyaha, prarabhya, they begin the action or they take up the responsibility. Vighna vihata, the moment any vighna comes, viramanti, they withdraw, stop, they don't proceed. Then in next two lines, Bhartrihari says, Vighnaihi punah punarapi pratihanyamana, being beaten and baffled by the vignas again and again. Prarabdham uttama guna Uttama guna, the excellent ones, the high-spirited ones. Prarabdham, whatever they have begun, na parityajanti. They don't give it up until they achieve the goal. Prarabhyate na khalu vighna bhayena nichaihi. Prarabhya vighna vihata viramanti madhya vignaihi punah punarapi pratihanyamana prarabdham uttama guna na parityajanti. So, like this one finds Bhartrihari is dealing with 10 in 10 different sections. So he describes the various temperament of the human beings. So he describes about the fools, the stupid ones, how do they behave, and what is their role in the society. He describes is the people with wisdom. He describes about various situations in various temperaments and various situations in the human life. So he speaks about, like, one temperament, for example, is dhairya paddhati. So about perseverance, endurance. He speaks about 10-15 verses just on the dhairya. So like this, various kinds of human temperament, human elements, values, ethical, moral values he takes and then speaks in a language which is very, very practical and then close to the human. So if you want to read Bhartrihari's Niti Shatakam with Sri Aurobindo's translation, it's an experience by itself. The book is also printed under the title The Century of Life. The Century of Life, Niti Shatakam, because it's all about how do we lead or live a right kind of life. Sri Aurobindo. Not based, it is it is the transcreation of Bhartrihari's. So the book will have Bhartrihari's original verse and Sri Aurobindo's transcreation. First thing is, like, he was one of the greatest philosophers, the philosophy of language. He was a realized soul. And this poetry, the 3 centuries that he has written, is very, very popular. He lives through this poetry. Okay, so I'll take 3 or 4 examples from Kalidas in this session. Kalidas, as I told you, and Sri Aurobindo had a great, great admiration for Kalidas and Bhartrihari. These were the 2 poets whom he loved. Bhartrihari. And also, he loved the heroic spirit of Bhartrihari. His language and his mission and his spirit is amazing. The heroic spirit, he calls it the heroic spirit of Bhartrihari. And he loved the poet in Kalidas, real poet in Kalidas, who could understand every human emotion. And the lover of nature, the way Kalidas handled all his women characters, is nowhere in the world one finds such subtleties and fineness and love for women and respect for women in Kalidas. So when he describes Shakuntala's beauty, and then he finds Dushyanta goes to the ashram of a Kanva where he meets Shakuntala for the first time. So he is dumbfounded by the beauty of Shakuntala. And then Shakuntala in the ashram, because ashram is ashram, one has to exert. So she was taking care of all the plants and flowers, the whole garden. And she used to bring water and pour into the water. So Dushyanta looks at Shakuntala, the delicacy, the subtlety, the profundity of her beauty. He says that this is what Kalidas says, that man must have been extremely cruel who has engaged Shakuntala in this act of pouring water. He said it's like cutting a piece of wood with the edge of a flower petal. So very beautifully, the delicacy of beauty and aesthetic value that he has brought out of the nature, Kalidas, that is what makes everyone keep Kalidas in the heart and mind. At the same time, he was a realized soul, very deep into his realization. So in the beginning, like, he has written Raghuvamsham, one huge poem, Mahakavya, which is the story of Rama. He has written about Kumara Shambhavam, another Mahakavya, which is the birth of Kumara, Birth of Kumara means birth of Kartikeya, Subramanyam. And then he has written these three dramas. One is Shakuntala, and Malavikagnimitram, and Vikramurvashiyam. So these five creations of Kalidas, and apart from this, the lyrical poetry Meghadutam and Rutu Samharam. So this is the Meghadutam and Ritu Samharam, about all the seasons. This is supposed to be his, early writings. Meghadutam is his maybe first writing. So one sees that immature writing of Kalidas in Ritu Samhar. So there are lyrical poetry, small poetry, lyrical in nature. So now in the drama, the Shakuntala, actually Kalidas became world famous through his drama Shakuntala. So the greatest of the poets like Goethe, a German poet, so he said, like, if someone wants to find both earth and heaven meeting together, read Shakuntala. If you want to live, experience the joy of paradise being on the earth, read Shakuntala. And this Shakuntala, not of the story of Shakuntala, the whole drama is known as Abhignana Shakuntalam. That is the full name of the drama, Abhignana Shakuntalam. He read the translation. He says, even by reading the translation, yes. So he says, he read both the translation of Abhignana Shakuntalam and Meghadutam. Now he says, like, what more pleasant shall we know than Shakuntala, Nala that we must kiss, and Meghaduta, the cloud messenger. Who is there who will not like to send him to his soul? And he was one of the Navaratnas in the Vikramaditya's court. So this is where the dating is fixed, that he was during the time of Vikramaditya. But then again there is controversy about Vikramaditya's existence. So now the Shakuntala has made Kalidas the Kavi Kula Guru. He is the guru of all the poets. And the beginning verse of all his dramas shows the philosophy that he lived, the truth that he realized. He was a devotee of Shiva. Shiva was the highest god for him. So this is what he writes in the beginning of Shakuntala. Ya srishti srashturadya vahati vidhihutam ya havir ya cha hotri yedve kalam vidhatta shruti vishaya guna ya sthita vyapya vishwam yamahu sarva vija prakriti riti yaya praninah pranavantah pratyakshabhi prapannastanubhiravatuvastavhirashtabhirisha. So he describes the Shiva living in his 8 forms. Which are these 8 forms? He says the Shiva, the Lord, who is the Adideva, the Lord of all and the King. So he says he has these 8 forms. He lives in these 8 forms. The first form is water, Apa, the first created thing. In the creation, the first created thing is water. And fire, which lives in the sacrifice, through the sacrifice. Then he says the times dividers, moon and sun, yedve kalam vidhatta. Actually, moon and sun, they divide the time into day and night. Then it says that the all-embracing ether, the space, which is Shruti Vishaya Guna, means the path of sound. You can see, learn the science and the poetry and the philosophy together. And the earth, where all seeds of life are found. And then the air, the breath of life. And then he says that in all these forms, the Shiva who lives in all these forms, so he invokes the presence of Shiva by contemplating on all 8 forms of him, and then says, may this Shiva, through his 8 forms, be auspicious to all of us and protect us. Then he begins his drama. Shakuntala. Huh? Water. See the water, fire, space, huh? Sun, moon. Hmm. Not sound. One is like water you have, then fire, two, then sun and moon, four, then you have ether, then you have earth, then you have air. How many it becomes? Space I have already said. Yes, ether. Yeah, Srishti. Ether is space. Seven. Okay. Let me see. Ya Srishti Srashtu Radya Bhati Vidhyutam Ya Havir Ya Chahotri. This water and fire. Yedve Kalam Vidhatta is the sun and moon. Four. Shruti Vishaya Guna. This is the Akasha. Yamaho Sarvabija Prakritiriti. This is earth. Yaya Praninaha Pranavantah. So the air. So there is in between, Yasthita Vyapya Vishwam. No. Yeah, here it is taken, the priest is taken as another form. Like he himself is the priest, initiates all actions, initiates the sacrifice, the priest, Hotri. So, Ya Srishti Srashturadya Vahati Vidhihutam Ya Havir Yacha Hotri. So these 8 forms. So may it be Pratyaksha. It says Pratyakshavi. These are the visible forms of Shiva, that these 8 forms, may they protect us. Now the beauty of this drama is that it is said that Kavyesu Natakam Ramyam. Among all the poetic compositions, the most beautiful and enchanting one is the drama. Kavyeshu Natakam Ramyam. Then it says Tatra Ramya Shakuntala. And among all the dramas which are composed so far, the most beautiful and enchanting is Shakuntala of Kalidas. Then it says Tatra Ramya Chaturthunka. The 4th act in Shakuntala is the best one. Then it says Tatra Shloka Chatushtayam. And there the 4 shlokas. Kavyeshu Natakam Ramyam. Tatra Ramya Shakuntala, Tatra Ramya Chaturthunka, Tatra Ramya Chaturthunka, Tatra Shloka Chatushtayam. Chaturtha Anka, Chaturthunka. Anka means act. Tatra Shloka Chatushtayam. There again the 4 shlokas. So this always, increases the curiosity to know, like, which are those 4 shlokas, which are the greatest shlokas. So those 4 shlokas we will do in this session. The 4 shlokas, he didn't translate. So why the Chaturthanka is important in the story of Shakuntala? That is the most important event which is described in the 4th act. Now Dushyanta is the king who comes and then he falls in love with Shakuntala and gets him married in the absence of her father. He's not the real father. She's adopted. Like she was found by Kanwa. So as a heavenly child. So and he was nurturing and taking care of, bringing up Shakuntala. Shakuntala was not his real daughter. So she is actually the daughter of Menaka, an Apsara. So now Shakuntala was living in Kanwa's ashram and in her youthful age. So King Dushyanta came to pay his homage to Kanwa when Kanwa was not there. But looking at the beauty of Shakuntala, so he fell in love with her and then they got married. And so there was a gap of 3-4 months when Kanwa was absent. But when Kanwa came, so it was found that Shakuntala is pregnant, and then now she had to be taken back to Dushyanta. But in between something else had happened. When Dushyanta had left, so Shakuntala was all the times thinking about him, and she was most of the times absent-minded. So on one day, Durvasa came to the ashram and then he was not paid any attention because it was Shakuntala who was supposed to pay homage to Durvasa. So he got angry. He said the person in whose thought you are engrossed will forget you. So that was the curse given. So then they all pleaded, all her attendants and all one pleaded that, okay, it's maybe like I was absent-minded, so please forgive. So he said, okay, so only when you show this ring, he will recognize you. That is why it is abhignana. Abhignana means the mark of recognition. So he will recognize you only when this thing comes. Then it is very beautifully dramatized. This story of Dushyanta Shakuntala is there in the Mahabharata, in Padma Purana and few other places. Now the twist that Kalidas has given is from this point. Now Shakuntala is leaving the ashram and going to Dushyanta's court. Now they are carrying the ring nicely. Now when they were crossing the river, so Shakuntala fondly was playing with the water, and then the ring fell, and the ring was swallowed by a fish. And there was a fisherman who caught that fish, and he found that golden ring where king's name was written, because that was the ring which was given by Dushyanta to the Shakuntala. So by the time the ring came back to King Dushyanta, so the incidents have taken place. Shakuntala was thrown out, so he didn't recognize her. So she went and lived in another ashram. So she didn't want to go back to Kanwa. And then she gives birth to the child. Then there is a gap of 3-4 years when he gets the ring back, and then he comes and then recognizes Shakuntala. And then there is this union. This is the story. Now all these, the most important episode happens in the 4th act, when Shakuntala is departing for leaving Kanva's ashram and going to Dushyanta's place. So this is where you see the human emotion, how Kalidas has brought out in these 4 verses. Now Kanva, he was bringing up this child right from her childhood. Though he is a hermitage, he was living in the hermitage and nurturing, but still there is little bit of emotion towards attachment towards the child. Now see, Kanva is coming out with his it's not befitting to say that he is expressing his grief, but he is expressing his own state, what he feels in this situation. So Shakuntala was very fond of the plants, the animals. Now she has to leave, so all the plant kingdom has become quiet. So everything in the ashram has become quiet, because today is the last day for Shakuntala. So Kanva says, Kalidas writes in Kanva's mouth, Yasyatyadya Shakuntaleti Hrudayam Sansprushta Mutkanthaya. He says, today, Yasyati Adya Shakuntala. Yasyatyadya Shakuntala. Today Shakuntala will depart. And for that reason, Sansprushtam Utkanthaya Hrudayam. So my heart is going to miss her. And it is, now there is too much of utkantha, excitement and grief, all mixed. There is a different kind of emotion which is affecting me. Kantha stambhita, he says, my throat is choking. Bashpavritti kalusha chinta jadam darshanam. He says, my eyes, chinta jadam darshanam. He said, my eyes are fixed because they are brimmed with the tears. As if the tears will fall down, but it's not rolling down. Vashpa vritti kalusha chinta jadam darshanam. Vaiklavyam, then he says, why all these things are happening to me? I am a mendicant, I am a vairagi. I have no connection, no attachment with the worldly affairs. So he says, Vaiklavyam mamatavad idrusham idam snehad aranyaukasa. The one who is living a forest life, living like a mendicant, if so much of emotion and this situation, I am feeling like my throat is choking, my eyes are, like brimming with tears, and then I'm fixed. I don't know There is no other thought in my mind. Chinta jada darshanam. So what it would be meaning to the household people? He says, Pidyante grihina katham no tanaya vishlesha dukkhair navai. When a father, sees of his daughter, gives in marriage, and then what kind of pain they must be experiencing. It is a completely fresh experience. So how they must be feeling pain at the heart. Pidyante grihinaha katham nu tanaya vishlesa dukkhair navai. So this was the first verse. Then the second, when Shakuntala is leaving now the plants, so what happens? The scene which is described by Kalidas. So there is a thorny, creeper. So where Shakuntala's sari is getting stuck. So that Kalidas says, even this plant doesn't want, it pulls you back. That don't go. They have so much of love for you. So he says, now Kanwa is saying it to all the plants and animals. Even a deer comes and then pulls her back, her saris. So this is what is described there. So Kanwa says, Patumna prathamam vyavasyati jalam yushmasu apiteshu ya nadatte priyamandanapi bhavatam snehena ya pallavam adyevah kusuma prasuti samaye yasya bhavatyutsavah seyam yati shakuntala patigriham sarvairanugnayatam. Such love for nature he has brought out through this verse. He says, you all, the plant kingdom. He's addressing all the plants, flowers. He says, Patum na prathamam vyavasyati jalam yushmasu apiteshu ja. Until she waters you all, without giving you water, she doesn't take the first sip of water. That was the love for you all. So first she waters you, then she drinks water. Nadatte priyamandanapi bhavatam snehena ya pallavam. Although she is fond of ornaments, decorating her, but never in her life she has plucked a single flower or leaf from you. Nadatte priyamandanapi bhavatam snehena. That was the intensity of her love for you all. What else? He says, Adye vah kusuma prasuti samaye yasya bhavati utsava. When the first flower comes in any plant, so she used to celebrate that day. First flower has come. That was the love she had for you. And Seyam Yati Shakuntala, and that Shakuntala, mark the word Seyam Yati Shakuntala, that Shakuntala is departing today. Sarvai Ranugnayantam. So do permit her to go. Do permit her to go. That was the second verse. And then the third verse. So on the first verse, he is expressing his personal sentiment. The second verse, he is showing Shakuntala's love for, things, plants, animals. In the third verse, there is an advice to Shakuntala how she should live in Sasural. How she should live in her, lead her married life. He says, Sushrushusva Gurun, give yourself in service to the elderly people. Sushrushusva Gurun. Gurunam Sevam Kuru. Priya Sakhi Vritim Sapatni Jane. And with all others. Sapatni Jane means like the king's brother's wife or king had other wives. So with them, Priya Sakhi Vritim. So be very friendly to them. Bhartru Viprakrutapi Roshanataya Masma Pratipam Gama. Even though your husband shows any anger or irritation towards you, never show any kind of negative emotions in front of him. Don't react to anything that husband. Now, yes, you are looking at. Now she will say what Kalidas has said about the husbands. So first you read that, then there will be compromise. So at least, in 1 year gap, I enjoy this status. So Bhartru Viprakrutapi, in any adverse situation, so be with your husband and never react to if the husband is in that state. So you remain quiet and maintain your quietude and then be with him. Bhuishtham bhava dakshina parijane bhagyeshu anutsekine. He says that be courteous to all the parijana, the servants, and bhagyeshu anutsekine. And although from the ashram life, you are going to be the queen, and this sense of arrogance comes, I am married to a king and these things. He said, never be puffed off with pride and arrogance in your happy days. While you are experiencing the happiness, never get puffed off with pride and arrogance. Yantyeva gruhini padam yuvatayo vama kulasyadhaya. In this manner, one becomes truly gruhini. And those who do not follow this path, they are, he says, they are the curse to life. They are the curse of life. The women who do not follow this path, making the home, so they are the curse to the world. So this was the third one. Then in the fourth one, he says another practical thing which he brings out. He says, Artho hi kanya parakiya eva. Now he is, counseling himself or bringing some kind of, solace to him, Kanwa himself, because he's feeling very intensely emotional. So he says that, why do you think be emotional so much? Because this is the rule of the world. Artho hi kanya parakiya eva. The girl is meant for another. Artho hi kanya, the very purpose of having a kanya, the kanya's purpose is she's meant for another. Tamadya samprishya parigrahitu jato mamayam vishadah prakamam pratyarpitanyasa ivantaratma. The kanya is as if God has given you something as a deposit which you have to take care. Remember, like Bhasa saying, Dukkham nyasasya karanam. Nyasasya rakshanam. So nyasa. So kanya should be considered as a nyasa. Something is given to us by the divine as a deposit. So she has to be taken care of properly and then handed over to the person for whom it is meant. He says, think this way and then be happy that today you have returned the nyasa for whom it was meant. So this is how he is, consoling himself and then having some solace in the heart. Kanya. Kan means to shine. Kan means to shine. Kanti. The word kanti comes from the same root. The one, actually there may be, many, this is what is the tradition you will find in most of the poets. Even though at home, there are many, boys and male members, but it is the Kanya who brings the brightness and shining to the home. So that's why she is called Kanya, rightly. She brings happiness. Her presence brings happiness, light, peace, everything at home. So she is called Kanya. So this is what is Kalidas. I'll just take one more poet as the last example, is Jayadeva. Now Jayadeva, like yesterday I had very passingly mentioned about it. He was a poet who has been followed and imitated by hundreds of later poets in imitating his style of composition. He created a completely new kind of poetry he gave to the whole world. Ujjain. Bhartrihari also Ujjain. Jayadev from Odisha. So there was a long fight about, now the Rasgulla fight is going on. So the fight was like whether Jayadev belonged to Odisha or Bengal. So now it is settled by the historian that he belonged to Odisha. So, but for a long time this fight was going on to prove historically to which state, which place. He belonged to a place called Kendubilliva, which is near on the bank of the Prachi river, which is flowing in the Puri district. So this who? It's pure Sanskrit. It's pure Sanskrit. No, nothing. It's a pure Sanskrit. Jayadeva. Jayadeva. And his wife was Padmavati. So Jayadeva composed this Gita Govindam. Only one work, yes, Gita Govindam. Gita Govindam contains 24 songs, and there are 72 verses, independent shlokas, serving as introduction, or either the introduction or the conclusion, either in the beginning of the poem song or at the end of the song. So like this you have 72 independent verses and 24 songs, and each song has 8 stanzas. So therefore it is also known as Ashtapadi. But there are some verses where you find 10, some you find 5. So this is where if somewhere you find 5, so another 3 is adjusted in the next song. So that is why equally if you distribute the number of songs and stanzas, they fall into 8, 8, 8, 8. Okay. So if you multiply 24 into 8, so those many stanzas are there altogether. And most of the songs will have 8 stanzas, so it's called Ashtapadi. Now the main intention, if you read Jayadeva's Gita Govindam, so the first feel will be like it is an erotic poem where he excels in describing those things, Krishna and Radha. But this is how he got the moksha, he got the darshan of Krishna. It is as if like Krishna himself has written his own story, his own songs. So at each end of each song, so he says that may this Krishna and this Radha live in my heart and liberate me from this, like bondages of the world. So Haris Maranam is the keynote in Gita Govindam of Jayadeva. Haris Maranam, remembrance of Hari, while giving the description of their, like the union, their love between Krishna and Radha. So, like yesterday I mentioned about it, there comes a position where, and it's very practical, such practical, emotional, the human emotion, if someone wants to understand and how it is reflected there. So, at one place, I'll just give you one small example. The language which Jayadeva has used. So, there is a situation that Krishna has spent the night somewhere else. So there Radha is, asking Krishna, where did you spend your night yesterday? He said, no, I was not there. So he tries to, pretend that, no, nothing. He said, you can't just leave me. Why this sindur mark is here? Why this flower is hanging here? Yes, the nail marks are there here. So with whom you spend the night? So this is how she is charging Krishna, and then extracting from him like where you spend your life. But all these, like at a spiritual level, this has a different meaning. At a other level, it describes all kinds of like erotic sense, erotic feelings one has. So that's why most of the Westerners and European, they set it as an erotic poem. The spiritual level is Haris Maranam, so he becomes like Hari in the form of a man, and Hari like Krishna and Radha. So through all their human emotions and human affairs, so the presence of Hari is felt during when someone reads the Gita Govindam. He brings up how he's it is actually not there. It is Radha's imagination. Yes, this is Radha's imagination. The spiritual part of is that the closeness of the love, the bonding between Krishna and Radha, which is presented at each level. The bonding between the love between Krishna and Radha is presented at all levels, at the deeper level, at the human level. Both the levels are presented there. So that is why each stanza stays, again, like one feels like Haris Maranam. Why do I describe this? Because Haris Maranam is the object. It is through this I come close to Krishna and Radha. I live Krishna and Radha, their love. Their love is going on inside us. So there are many places where while describing it, one can extract it as the mantra. and then repeat it and practice this mantra sadhana and enter into the Krishna consciousness. Now the same thing comes again like when you have many the temple architecture you go. The portraying of this sense, that is the human part of it. There is the human part of it. Because they were born in the human form. See, for the thing is, like the avatar, even though like he's conscious of his divine nature, so they have to live in a human way and achieve everything, achieve that purity in love through the human way. So that is why the human way cannot be just escaped, because we are describing something divine. Like why Krishna was behaving in that human way. That is necessary for the progressive evolution of the humanity. That is the whole purpose of the avatarhood, that he has to descend in the human way and then behave in the human way and lead the human beings in the human way, still being conscious of the divinity within him, and then bring the divinity, the divine light into the human consciousness. But if it has to happen in the divine way, so the divine doesn't need to take any human birth and he will work out everything from above. But that is not the purpose. Okay, so we'll take just one or two examples from Gita Govindam. So the first thing it starts with says, Yadi, what is the purpose? He makes the purpose very clear right in the beginning. He says, Yadi harismarane sarasam mana. If your mind is intent on remembering Hari, the God, Yadi vilasa kalasu kutuhalam, and you want to attain Hari, the realization, or you want to meet Hari through vilasa kala, through this love game. Okay. Vilasa kalasu kutuhalam, you are curious enough to do that. Madhura komala kanta padavalim shrunutada jayadeva saraswatim. And you want to elevate your own consciousness to that divine consciousness through the madhura, sweet, komala, soft, kanta, enchanting or charming, padavali, words, shrunutada jayadeva saraswatim. So listen to this composition of Jayadev. Yadi harismarane sarasammana, yadi vilasa kalasu kutuhalam, yadi madhura komala kanta padavalim, shrunutada jayadeva saraswatim. Pada avali. Avali means the samuha. Okay. Many. Group. Okay. Like Deepavali. Deepa avali. Many deepas. Now, the beauty of this, the first thing is, the keynote is Harismarana. And it is Harismarana through the love game, love story of Krishna and Radha. And then the Madhura Komala Kanta Padavali. So till date, after Jayadev, he belonged to 12th century. And Jayadeva is imitated by many poets, later poets, following his style of writing. But still, no one has matched the excellence, the perfection that Jayadev had achieved. The most beautiful thing reading Jayadev is that once you start reading or listening, you don't want to stop. Long compound words set into music and melody. For example, he writes here, describing the whole environment, the ambience where Krishna and Radha was to meet. He says, Lalita lavanga lata parishilana komala malaya samire madhukara nikara karambita kokila kujita kunja kutire. If you say poetry, you come to Jayadeva's Gita Govinda. Experience poetry just by listening to it. This is all Sanskrit. Yes. So, Lalita lavanga lata parishilana komala malaya samire madhukara nikara karambita kokila kujita kunja kutire viharati haririha sarasa vasante nrutyati yuvati janena samam sakhi virahi janasya durante. This is like one stanza. Or Chandana Charchita Neela Kalevara Pita Vasana Vana Mali. He is describing Krishna in this form. Chandana Charchita Neela Kalevara Pita Vasana Vana Mali Keli Chalan Mani Kundala Mandita Ganda Yuga Smita Shali. And then the most important thing is that This is the greatest contribution of Jayadeva, and because Hari Smarana, so he describes Hari in all his incarnations. Why the avatar tattva he brings right in the beginning is the avatar has to come in the human form and achieve everything. So the Matsya, Katsapa, Varaha, Rama, Parashurama, Balarama, Krishna, Buddha, so Kalki, all these Dasavatar. So it is the contribution of Jayadev to describe all the 10 avatars in the beginning of Jayadev. So that beginning of Gita Govindam. So the Dasavatar Stuti here is, there are many people who have written Dasavatar Stuti, but Jayadevas is always standing first. Pralaya Payodhi Jale Dhrutavanasi Vedam Vihita Vahitra Charitra Makhedam Keshava Dhruta Meena Sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare. And the story goes that in the Jagannath temple, so Jayadeva's wife Padmavati, she has to dance to all these songs. And when this happens, so this is how Jagannath, Lord Jagannath, he goes to sleep after hearing the Gita Govindam. And it is said that wherever Gita Govindam is chanted, Krishna is present there every day. In the temple, it is every day. Whole recitation, I mean, some portions of Gita Govinda is read, not the entire Gita Govinda. Entire Gita Govinda will take 5 to 6 hours. Yes. There are people who have worked on it, like what is the way to sing, but there is no one way of singing. So this particular part, how it was sung in 12th century, so that is very difficult to say. Now you have almost all the top level musicians and singers and composers, they have given music to Gita Govindam. You will find more than 250 musical renderings so far on Gita Govindam, the one that we have made. Now Raghunath Panigrahi is very beautiful, but they're musically very beautiful, but from the language point of view, it is that many people have sung it wrongly from the chandas and this point. For example, you say the Dasavatar Stuti, Pralaya, almost all singers have sung in this manner. Pralaya Payodhi Jale Dhrutavanasi Vedam Vihita Vahitra Charitra Makhedam Kesava Dhruta Meena Sarira Jaya Jagadisha Hare. This is the split you get in all musical rendering. But it doesn't make anything. The word is Kesava. He Kesava. He Dhruta Meena Sarira. Dhruta Meena Sarira is one compound word, one invocation. So in music also it has to be separately. Kesava, Dhruta Meena Sarira, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. But it is never sung that way. So many people have sung Kesava Dhruta Meena Sarira, Kesava Dhruta Kachapa Rupa, Kesava Dhruta Rama Sarira. So the Dhruta word is taken along with Kesava. Then these poems are set to like Odissi music. Almost all dance forms, they use Gita Govindam, but mostly in Odissi. There also in the dance forms, when we were like deep into this composition and helping the dancers also, the dancers do not understand the language, so they present it wrongly. At one place it says Radhika Tava Virahe Kesava. What does it mean? Radhika Tava. The entire song is a Sakhi describing the condition of Radhika to Kesava. He Kesava, Tava Virahe, in your separation. This is the condition of Radhika. Because the Radhika word comes first. Now in the dance form it is completely ulta. Radhika Tava Virahe Kesava. Radhika Tava Virahe Kesava. But the whole description is the description of Radhika, all in feminine. In the dance they present completely different way, as if the Sakhi is describing to Radhika, in your separation this is the condition of Krishna, and it's not matching. Okay, so like this there are many problems here. No, one has to see the language. Radhika Tava Virahe. Radhika means Radhika's condition is saying Radhika, this is the Radhika, your Radhika. Tava Virahe, He Kesava. Kesava is in Sambodhanam. So if Radhika is in Sambodhanam, it will be Radhike, not Radhika. Okay. So like this we find the Gita Govindam, Raghunath Panigrahi. What we have made is the The only musical composition having all the 24 songs and all the 72 verses. All others have done partially. 2, 3 songs or 5 songs or 10 songs. But here one gets all the 25 songs, 24 songs. Yes, 5 CDs. Yes, one set, 5 CDs. Yeah, we have to give it in a flash drive. Anyone wants, I can give it. You can take it from me. Because now selling is stopped. So HMV was marketing it. Now he is not interested. We have cancelled the agreement. Now it has to reach people. So anyone connected with us, we just give like that. But it's very beautifully done from the language, grammar, chandas, and ucharan point of. Huh? No, no, no. As it's a Muslim singer, Nazia Alam. Nazia Alam is the yes. Nazia Alam. Yes. And she is entirely dedicated for Gita Govinda. She sings only Gita Govinda. She has sung, she is the main singer. She is the main singer, Nazia Allah. Okay, should we take a break?